Okay, we're here.
Ran, can you pass me the booklet? Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
so hopefully we'll have everybody could join in with their remembering. So we're on the fourth line in the Chazorah. We're on the fourth line from the bottom on page Beis. The line starts with Hu Hagilui, and what we've been talking about, is the Inyan of Chomer and Surah, the relationship that the Rebbe says in the Maimer that the Chomer is the Atzmi and the Pshitus of the Davar, and the Tzura is the Hisgalus of the Davar. And we had one of the Mishalim that Rabbi Paltiel gave for this was the Inyan of a dining room in a human home. That in a human home, even an empty dining room contains everything that's in the dining room, in a certain sense, in an essential kind of. So in the mashal, the empty dining room is like the chomer, and then when you put the dining room table and the chairs in, this is a revelation of. It's a revelation of the chomer. How is the dining room contained in the empty dining room?
Excuse me, Rabbi Paltiel's not coming today?
He's in California. He's in Washington.
So even the empty room.
Good morning.
In a human house, a home. So the dining room is when a person looks at an empty dining room, he perceives this is a dining room. This is fitting for even in an empty home. You can see what the layout of the rooms are, and in the dining room, he perceives this room is fitting for a dining room. And in that sense, everything that is supposed to be in a human dining room is already there, included in that empty place. This is like the chomer. Not only is it included, the dining room provides for all of these things. Because this is a dining room, because this room is a dining room, therefore there must be a table in there. A dining room table. There must be chairs in there, because that is what a human house, a human home is.
He added then at that time that to what you said, that because this home itself, it has a such layout that of that quality that you're explaining, because it was built by the human being. And a human being, in his mind, he has like we always speak, essential necessity for the home, and therefore everything is there on a much higher level, higher than a chomer. And as was here in the Maimer when we're saying that the pshitus is the chomer is a pshitus ve'atzmi usadover. It's also not from itself. It's also from it's deriving that power, as a quality from above that, which is as we link this moshel in this manner that we'll learn, chomer on the lower level is a counterpart of a mokem ponoi on a higher level versus hollow that gives room for everything and potential for everything. It's just over there. It actually carries, it on a godly level. And here, on the chomer is a representation of that in our level. And therefore, it does not bring forth chairs. Dining room doesn't bring forth chairs and tables, and the chomer of this world does not bring forth create, the meaning of it without somebody looking at it and asking what it's about. Unlike up there, it's in itself, facilitates everything. So there is a difference. But
what is it that indicates that the room is a dining room, is made to be a dining room? It's got to be the relationship to the kitchen, its proximity to the kitchen, which is clearly a place for making food. Okay, and demonstrates or proves that it is a dining room. Okay. The other rooms, the bedrooms, that they're farther from it. They're upstairs. They're in a more isolated place. Okay, obviously meant for sleeping, for retiring.
Right.
Okay, it's interesting that everything depends on the kitchen.
But you heard what you would have made a point of that. You heard, right? Because he said that the dining room has everything in it because it's in a human home, and which was built by the human being, and therefore it's but he said it also. He said it also to begin with.
I don't think the meaning of the dining room comes from the kitchen. I think the meaning of the dining room comes from the human, and is manifest by the fact
absolutely.
Of the kitchen.
Well, how far you want to go back? I mean, he was talking about, he was saying that the dining room, even without furniture, is clearly a dining room. To me, that was not clear, unless you place it in relation to the kitchen.
Okay. But go ahead. But when you put a dining room table in the dining room,
Yeah, that.
we say that it's not just a foreign entity that you're putting into some empty room. The room is actually providing for this. It's a revelation of the room. It's a gilui rather than just total, a chiddush. It was already there. Now it's just being revealed. I think this is the point of Chaimer and Tzura. Okay. And if you put a dining room table in the bedroom, it doesn't belong there. It's not a gilui over there, but it's a gilui where it belongs. Okay, so that was all just the general union of Chaimer and Tzura, and now we're going to go into Surah Atzmius, which is a little bit of a different. So on the fourth line from the bottom. Amnam Inyan Surah Atzmius Hu Shehiz Galus Hu Be'etzem Hadavar Ve'enoi Davar Noisif Al Ha'etzem. Okay, but the Inyan of Surah Atzmius, because what we talked about before was a regular tzura, so to speak. So the inyan of tzura atzmius is that the hisgalus, the revelation, is in the etzem of the davar, and there is the eino davar noisif ala etzem, and there's nothing additional to the etzem. Ukamoi oisiyos hachakukim.
Sorry, I don't cut you off. There is no dover noisef alo etzem by the means of the gilui that Tzura provides, because as you explained before, the Tzura is a gilui of the Chomer. Because Chomer knows everything, and as we discussed, it's not potential, and Tzura just reveals it, megala. But when it's megala, it also constricts it's not a whole Chomer. It's just megala a certain thing. And sometimes, as you just said, it could be the gilu itself could be misleading, could take you away from what the Chomer was about. Unlike Tzura Atzmis, as we're going to discuss now, does not. Which I'm just addressing that the gilu.
Right. So example would be like when he talked about the table being a gilui of the. When you make the form of the table, that is a gilui of the Chomer. What's the Chomer of the table? Is a hard substance. The hard substance, though, could be made into many different things, not just the table. So when the table is made out of the gilui, it's not a revelation of the entire Chomer. It's a subset, so to speak. It's a gilui, but it doesn't reveal the entire Chomer.
Mm-hmm.
But the inyan of Tzura Atzmis is that the hisgalus, that the revelation, is in the etzem of the davar. Ve'eino davar noisef ala etzem, and there's no davar noisef ala etzem. There's nothing What does it mean, noisef al etzem?
Which means that we are going to understand it from the opposite. That if it is a noisef al etzem, then the gilui conceals on the etzem. But if it's a gilui which is no doiver noisef al etzem, then the gilui does not conceals on the choimer, meaning it's on the etzem. So that's what it means. Noisef in this case is negative.
What is noisef?
Additional, something extraneous,
Okay.
something else.
Okay.
So Tzura Atzmis facilitates a gilui, which makes it in a way that there is no dover noise of Alo Etzem.
Let's see, because the Rebbe is going to give us
Yes,
a mashal
yes.
for this
Yes.
Indian, so let's see that, and then maybe we could figure out how it relates to the mashalim that we already have. I don't know
Mhm, yeah,
about
yeah.
India. Ukamai. Oisiyus hachalkuki mahachoisem, like letters that are engraved on a stamp. Harei ha'oisiyus hein beguf hachoisem. The letters are in the very stamp itself. It's in the goof of the stamp. Im hiyos sha'oisiyus hein gilui hadavar v'loi etzem uhusan mamash. That although the letters are a gilui of the thing, in other words, they reveal this quality. They reveal this to an outside. Well,
In other words,
Maybe
they
that-
reveal what this choimer could do. Otherwise, nobody would know. Now,
so it's some kind of functional
Yeah, which-
aspect of the chaimer,
it was a piece of stone.
right? And it reveals that this stone could now make a.
Oisius.
The
It carries noise, Inyan from Oisius in it.
Isn't the content of the Osius, the Osius conveys some kind of sefer?
That's a separate issue here. We're not talking about that. For sure, absolutely, but that's not the point we're making here. We're making a point that just like what you would have said before, the what do you call it, hard substance is a choimer that could make a table and million other things, which is not water, because water doesn't make tables.
Okay.
So too, the stone is a choimer for oisius and million other things. It could be, for example, a diamond, right? Which with diamond you could cut things, right? So it's a choimer for that. But you could also carve on a diamond oisius, and it could be a choimer for oisius. It doesn't matter what this oisius
So why
is.
Dafka Osius?
We're going to see. We're going to see.
More specifically, it's dava noisef. That's what this mashal is.
Right,
It's
right,
not
exactly.
Some additional add-on right here.
That's why it says emotional for it's tzura atzmis that does not conceal anything.
Okay, so he says that although it is oisius, although the oisius are a gilui hadavar v'loi etzem uhusan mamish, and it's not the
Plain, undefined choimer
Okay.
of the stone, which could facilitate anything. I mean, a lot of stuff.
Mikol makom harei hisgalus hu min ha'etzem. But nevertheless, the hisgalus, the revelation, is min ha'etzem. The revelation comes from the etzem. Sha'arei ein kan davar noisef. There's no additional thing that is revealing the etzem. The etzem itself is revealing. The revelation is coming from the etzem itself.
Revelation pshat is that we are know now that this of this etzem via it being a facility for oisius,
Right.
and it's not made out of anything else but itself. So when we get to know it, we don't get to know it by means of anything else but itself.
I see. That's the case. But so this I think we have to rethink the point that we made about that the table, when it reveals the chaimer of the hard substance, that also is in other words, I had thought, I guess this was wrong. I had thought that the regular Torah is sort of a subset. The hard substance can be made into many, many things, but we reveal only a table. That's not the point of this. The point is how is the revelation coming? Is it coming from the etzem itself, or is it coming from something in addition to the etzem itself.
But just like you said yourself, you will see further in the Maimer. So let's go further in the Maimer because the Rebbe himself explains. He contrasts oisius achakukes in a Evan versus oisius written on a parchment. So we will see ourselves from the Rebbe's words.
This is not like oisios, written oisios, shehein gam ken gilui hadavar, which is also a revelation of the davar. Shahagilui hu al yedei shemastir al ha'etzem. That over there, in the case of the oisios, the gilui is through concealing the etzem. Be'im kain.
Gilui hadavar is gilui of the cloth.
Of what it could do.
The cloth.
Yes.
Right.
But the cloth is not it anymore. You're covering up on.
That's what you just read. That's exactly what you just read.
Right. The im kain ein hagilui min ha'etzem. So the gilui is not min ha'etzem.
Maybe you should review it one more time. He said, "Agilui hu al yidei shemastir al etzem." How do you do gilui? By concealing the etzem.
Okay.
With the dioi, that's how you megala what cloth is good for. Davka.
So the cloth itself, the chaymer of the cloth, contains within it anything that can be written on the cloth. But how do you reveal that? You reveal it by actually, the ink actually hides on the cloth. It's an additional thing to the cloth itself.
Not only.
How does it hide? How does it hide on the cloth?
Physically hide. Yeah. You know that in Sefer Torah you could erase it and throw it out.
Yeah.
But when you write it, it's an additional substance. It's an extraneous substance, which is on top of the cloth, and that's what the ois is.
Right.
But you don't see the cloth anymore. You see the ink. You don't see the cloth anymore. You see the ink.
Precisely. Exactly. That's exactly what he says.
Right.
Cloth is still a chomer in completely as we defined it, meaning it's noise as a ksiva.
Everything that could be written on.
Written it, and maybe other things also could be done with it, with this cloth. You could I don't know, use it as a as a curtain.
Okay. The imkain ein hagilui min ha'etzem. So there's no gilui min ha'etzem from the etzem. Ukamoi oisios hakasuvim b'dayu al ha'klaf. Like letters that are written with ink on cloth. Shadiyoi master al ha'klaf. That the ink conceals on the cloth. Through this is the gilui.
You could read parentheses, and that's it. I think that's the end of it. I think.
Shagilui hu mehaklav al yidei hester hadiyoi kuli. That's it. But the gilui is from the cloth through the hiding of the ink. That's my book of the Torah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean,
but okay. Did we talk about anything? Was there any other Rabbi Paltiel elaborated any? We didn't get there yet into.
We didn't learn further.
That the osios come from the person or something has to put. He said something along these lines.
That was because in the class was actually we discussed that when Shmuel had asked this question about art, and then that's how it came. That's how it came forth. It's not here. It's that's it.
He's stressing the opposite. He's stressing that he's not talking about it.
No.
But the claimer of the cloth. I mean, this is because it's a mashal, and we just can't. It's not the. But it doesn't seem like there would be a way to reveal min ha'etzem. The whole point of the whole way that you reveal the cloth is writing on the cloth.
Well, that's why. Well, first of all, it would
Unless you
be.
cut-
First
you
of
cut the
all,
letters.
exactly. So first, yes. So therefore, here you hear it, have it, and second of all, that's exactly the reason why a moshel is chosen, because a moshel is chosen to exemplify, to clarify something. So in comparison, in order for us to learn the concept that we just learned, we have two masholim which are precisely chosen, and one is engraved on a stone where you have the Tzura Atzmis, which is made out of thing itself and does not conceal, no door of noise and made out of thing itself, versus the oisias that are written on a cloth, which again the cloth is the thing that facilitates it, because you can't write oisias on the air it's going to be useless. It has to be written on something. He actually, that time I remember he brought this from Melochas Shabbos, and Shabbos it says there is a whole shaila whether you are allowed to write on because it's nothing. You're doing nothing. You're not accomplishing anything. Absolutely, it's only a shaila, but really it's nothing. But you need a cloth to write. So therefore the choimer is a choimer. But in order to appreciate the choimer, you have to conceal it with the ink which is extraneous to the cloth.
There is a certain kind of writing when you submit plans to the building department and they certify them and assign a number to your job. They perforate the letters into the edge, like it's made out of little tiny holes, so it can't be forged or altered.
Right.
It is actually a kind of writing, and of course by the stone, you could also take paint and paint letters on top of the stone, so it could converse of each one of
Right.
these.
You could do whatever you want,
You
man.
can speak about the most usual way.
Yeah.
We usually used to see, and if you hold it up, you see, the little
Yeah,
holes with
yeah.
this way it cannot be forged.
But even
That's what
that,
you
but
do.
even that, but even that, the letters made from what's
in
missing.
the paper.
Even that, the letters
Sometimes.
formed from what's missing.
Same thing is here. Same thing on a stone. It's exactly the same
But
motion.
what actually makes the letters is the eczema of the thing itself is making the letters.
Well, in that the motion that both of them gave, that's also the same
The
thing.
holes?
Sure.
No, but the actual letter itself is what's missing. It's not the eczema, it is the letter.
Well, once excuse me. How letters were written on the luchas? By means of them missing.
I was imagining these letters sticking out of the...
Well, and there are two types.
Yeah,
There are two types of.
But either way, you'd have to have some kind of missing to differentiate between the letters and the emptiness.
By the way, maybe he is right. Maybe there is no exclusion. Maybe we could talk here about on a stone the letters which are there is a what's the word for it? The letters could be engraved inside, or they could be protruding from out.
You see this in the cemetery, some of the older gravestones.
What's the name for it in English? Tell me that.
It's
Okay, so it could be that. It fits here. It doesn't matter. It's still made out of stone itself.
In other words, did
This
you
is
carve
for
away
Kukas.
the shape of the letter itself, or you
Carve
carve
around-
the material around
right.
it and leave the letter sticking?
Right.
But it's still
the
same idea.
Same idea. Same idea. Yeah.
Okay. You wanna,
That's it.
is this okay? Is that all? You want to watch the video for Monday?
Yeah.
Sure.